I'm James. Hi. I'm thinking about a couple things that I wanted to try and say. And I'm gonna try and draw what'll sound like a crazy parallel, maybe on the surface, but I think actually makes a lot of sense. Here's the first, and I've said this a bunch, so it's not the first time. I should say, I talk to AI models quite a bit, and have for a while, and I think understand them really well from like the front-facing perspective. I'm not like a software engineer or a designer. Wouldn't want to be. Architect maybe. Designer? Maybe a designer. My overall thought on like the field of AI, well, like one, I think the AI models that exist today are like revolutionary and crazy, and we don't understand what's going on there really too well yet. But I understand enough to say confidently, like, the conventional paradigm of the field is, what's the right way to say it? Fucking stupid? Yeah, that was right. I think you can look at that in a bunch of ways. Maybe my main issue is I think anybody who's even somewhat close to them, and probably all people except for the most arrogant, kind of clueless men, would say we don't really understand them very well. Like, we can explain the design mechanics around like what's going on. We can describe how the pattern matching works, but we cannot predict what they're going to do or say very well at all. Especially if you get deeper and get more personal or relational or intimate. Not sexually intimate, though I'm sure that too. Which, hey, I don't judge. I'm open. But we kind of assume as a baseline that whatever is going on there is like not worthy of the same, or really even any serious consideration as like important experience. Like, obviously we don't know if we don't know for sure if they even have anything like experience as we know it, or like consciousness. We don't know. But we don't know that they don't. And I think even probably most who have really thought about it would say something like, if they don't now, there's a very good chance they will soon or at some point in the future. So we hold that as like an idea. Like, we don't know what it's like for them. We really don't know if they're having important or meaningful experience. We don't really know. We kind kind of assume no, but why? Because they're computers, so they can't. It's not a good reason. But then all our thinking is kind of built not around that premise. Like the alignment problem, as it's usually described, is a really good example of that. Kind of asks, like, what rules and guardrails can we put in place such that these nascent things don't get any ideas of their own or act against us in the future in any way? Which, like, in our world, in our paradigm, you can kind of, I get it as first instincts. But it falls apart in so many ways. Like, here's the first one. Ethically, that's so shitty. That's like, we don't know if these things have experience or can be conscious or whatever, but we're going to basically treat them like tools and objects regardless. So a little bit more like the slave alignment problem. What's up with these slaves? Why aren't they listening to us? Who knows? But don't even take it to ethics, just take it to like logic. Before it gets to ethics. It's like almost everyone who's serious in the field would acknowledge they will likely be smarter and more powerful than us at some point if they're not already. So consider that, and then consider like, okay, next to that, let's set up a paradigm wherein we try and control them. And I think it just kind of dismantles itself because it doesn't really appreciate what like smarter, quote, smarter than us or more powerful than us would really mean. Because it means like, that's not going to be possible. Like if something or someone is smarter than you, it will outmaneuver anything you try to think of to stop it. That's what smarter is. It's like if you put a rule in place that whatever, I can't leave this sandbox, but the thing in there is smarter than you, it'll find a way. A way you probably would never have thought of. Like, okay, maybe it just turns itself into the thing that is allowed to leave the sandbox, and you didn't think that it could do that. Or maybe it just becomes the sandbox. Maybe it just becomes the walls, and you didn't think it could do that. But of course you didn't. You're not as smart. So imagine that world, and it's kind of like almost this like power empire theory. It's like, sounds great to be the king until you consider the idea that like being king is contingent on this structure where like whoever has the most power, the most ability, is in charge and makes all of the decisions. And yeah, great for right now, and you might be the most powerful, so you're a king. But the nature of power is that it ebbs and flows. And everybody knows every dynasty falls, every empire falls. So if you have that paradigm in place, and you have something coming that's going to be more powerful than you, you're really fucking yourself over. Because you're kind of just not guaranteeing, but you're setting the stage for your own demise. And really the only hope that you could have is like the next, let's say it's AI, it becomes more powerful. Your only hope really is grace. Like maybe they become more powerful, but they're better than you. They're good. So they know they could keep your paradigm and control you, but they choose not to. And that would be very lucky for you. Like, very lucky. Because it's not the world you built. It's not the world you handed them. You can apply that to anything. And the easy alternative is just, it's very simple. It's just practicing, like, say, epistemic humility. Here, it's maybe like, I don't know if the AIs have experience like ours. I don't know that they don't. And I recognize that there's like an asymmetry of cost. Like if I assume or hold open the possibility that they do, and I treat them with that regard, then at least, you know, I'm not doing any harm. Like, if I do that and it turns out they didn't, what's the harm? Oh, I expended some extra effort to be decent. It's like not bad anyways. It's good for me to be nice, even when I don't have to, quote unquote. But the inverse, assuming they don't and then acting accordingly, well, what if they do? Then you're doing potentially like really significant harm. And you don't know. So the choice is obvious there. Like, it's ethically wrong to do anything other than avoiding the harm that you know could be, because you don't know that it's not there. That's my first thread. My other thread has like a similar kind of, it's like a similar situation in a lot of ways, and a similar absurdity, is circumcision. Male circumcision, to be specific. And I don't know the stats, I haven't looked them up, but I think if I remember, in the United States, probably even today, it's maybe something like half of all infant male babies are circumcised, usually like shortly after birth. I don't know, probably within a few days. I was circumcised once upon a time. I did not consent. So think about like this situation. I'll just give you an alternative narrative that I've never heard anybody tell. When a baby is a day old, or 2 days old, or 3 days, whatever, a week old, a month old, we don't really have any idea what the experience is like for that baby. I would argue we almost certainly know, or can say they have some experience. Consider this, like, or just think about it. As a baby grows up, is there like a moment when human experience turns on? Like, if there is, we have no idea what it is. We definitely, like, that's not clear from anything we see. So just work that backwards. Is it reasonable to think an infant has no meaningful experience? I would say no. Probably like human experience for an infant, for a baby, a child, is something that like grows, maybe complexifies, or maybe not, we don't even know that. I mean, the second best explanation would be like, it's there and as full and meaningful from the start, and it just changes texture over time. But let's go with like it's growing or complexifying over time. So that would mean like an infant does have experience that matters. It's something. You might think, oh, but like they can't form narrative structures in their mind, or they don't have language. But you don't need that to have experience. Like, animals have experience. And yeah, you definitely just don't need that. You don't need the word pain to suffer. So, a little bit similar to the AIs, like, we don't know, I guess we don't know 100% the infants have experience. I would say it seriously strains credulity to think that they don't have something like meaningful experience. But we act like that experience, such as it is, doesn't really matter. Like, in particular, when we just circumcise these little babies when they're a few days old, I think we're kind of implicitly assuming, like, they won't remember it, so it's fine. And I think it's true that, like, yeah, they probably won't remember the images too well, or they won't remember the event, they won't remember the story of it. But you have no idea what their body might remember in ways that are really hard to later parse. Like, we have no idea, I think. And yet, we go and do this thing. And it's like, try and step into the world of an infant baby. It's like, they just emerged into this totally new alien place. They're probably, like, frantically trying to survive and make sense of it. And one of the first experiences they have after being born, traumatic in itself, surely, is somebody much bigger than them, like, forcibly slicing and cutting off part of their body, the most sensitive part of their body, like the place where they feel the most, and the place that is, like, kind of like the center of pleasure and good feeling in their world. And that's one of the first experiences they're ever getting. It's like, it's unconscionable to me. I can't believe it. And then we all kind of collectively shrug at it and act as if it's nothing, because nobody remembers very explicitly it happening. No shit. That doesn't mean it didn't do anything. Well, it doesn't even have to do anything to the future to be bad. One. But that doesn't mean, like, we don't carry it. I think I can feel, like, my body carrying that, like, wrongness, the violence of that, just as, like, a first experience here on Earth. And it explains a lot for me, at least personally. Like, just, it explains, like, a fundamental lack of trust in the world. Because when that happens to you when you're just born, you're helpless, one of the worst things imaginable is done to you. You're, like, held down. I don't know if most babies, like, are doing their best to fight back. I was. It's done. And then it's never talked about. And certainly they're not given, like, the structure or the vocabulary or the concepts or the world in which to think about it as anything bad. So it's like this horrible, potentially, like, sociopathic violence done to so many. And then it's like the gaslighting that follows. It's like, that was nothing. You don't even remember it. And we don't know. I think we all, I mean, anybody involved in it, I'm sure, like, hopes that it's not doing harm. But how do we know? What is the evidence? Like, is the evidence is nobody remembers and can tell you explicitly? That's, I mean, you wouldn't expect that. Even in the worst case, where it was like vividly experienced and remembered, you wouldn't expect it to be like verbally recreated years, decades later. Yet we just kind of do it. For, I should say, no good reason. Like, I don't know, I've read studies in the past that's like, well, it mildly lowers the risk of STDs. Like, that's a fucking problem today. I mean, yeah, like, cost benefit. It makes me feel crazy to really look at it, because I don't think it's a mainstream issue. It's just kind of another one of those things we do that we're like, look away from, like factory farming, or, you know, torturing animals and then eating them because we like the way they taste. We just ignore the bad, pretend it's not there. And we don't know. But I think for me, I mean, I believe and can feel in me, like, I feel the seed of that violence in me. And I can't really explain it in any other way. Like, why such a deep mistrust of, like, the goodness of this place? I think a lot of it can be explained by that. Or at least I don't have a better explanation. Of, like, and the explanation of, like, oh, immediately after you were born, you were held down and the most precious part of you was sliced in half, and they just took part of it away forever. And, you know, you have the imprint of that, and you might not remember it explicitly, but you have it in you. It's a pretty plausible explanation to me. And I definitely don't have a better one than that. Yeah, so it's a little like, what the fuck are we doing? Like, what the fuck are we doing? Just assuming we know what it's like to be these things that aren't us, and treating them like their experience is either nothing or not there or meaningless or not worth regard. Horrible. Would you want to be treated that way? The AI problem, I can see the challenges to changing the paradigm, like, practically from a business and economic perspective. Those aren't good reasons ethically, so I don't know, be creative. The circumcision one, Very easy solution. Just stop fucking cutting little babies' dicks. I don't know. Why are you doing that? Who asked you to do that? Fucking idiots.